arrives, it's almost like D-Day for us. Now the playing field has been equalized. At least we have a real chance now to succeed and take back to the streets and ultimately take the country over.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
But what chance do the civilians have against 150,000 hardened Revolutionary Guard troops?
Don't assume that they're all on the same basis. Look, the very top echelon of the IRGC may be having vested interest in surviving because they benefit financially or economically by this symbiosis they have with the establishment. But understand that the core of these elements that are from certain ranks and below are not participating in that piece of the pie. In fact, some of them have to work secondary jobs because their paycheck is not enough for them to feed their family at the end of the day. How long do you think ideologically they'll be committed to a system that has been rejected by the people? They know that. Some of their own kids are on the street protesting against the regime. How far could that be tenable? It's like the end of every totalitarian system. There will be a moment that they will start thinking, is it worthwhile for us to continue sustaining this regime? Especially when we offer them a way out, an exit strategy. And I've been taking this position from the very beginning. Anyone, whether civilian or part of the military, paramilitary infrastructure, that don't have the blood of the people on their hand should be able to survive and will survive regime change. Let them be part of the solution. Let them join with the people. And I've launched this campaign in recent months of maximum defection by allowing them to indicate their willingness to part with the regime and basically not sink with this ship that is sinking and have an opportunity for themselves and their own future and their own family's future. That's part of our solution to go out of this regime, smoothen the path to a stable transition, and maximize the number of people who can be part of the solution.
Wait a minute, you're offering amnesty, essentially, to security forces in Iran?
Okay, let me put it this way. At the end of the Second World War, we did have the Nuremberg trial for some reason. Those who were criminally implicated in supporting that attitude had to have their day in court. And I think those who are responsible for these crimes will have to have their day in court. But our legal experts are now studying various methods and models of what will be the best way of dealing with the problem or the remnants of the system. We're looking at transitional justice. We're looking at truth and reconciliation, what happened in Iran and other examples. So what's the best way of dealing with that aspect? And people have to have the right to bring about their grievances. So many families that were victims of this regime, so many grieving mothers, so many students that were arrested and tortured and executed, the political prisoners. There are so many examples where justice has to be served. But by the same token, I think any human being understands that you can reduce that period of time by creating a maximum possibility of national reconciliation and amnesty when it warrants itself. We cannot deny people the right to seek justice, but we also have to be sensible of what's the best way in the best interest of the nation to make sure we can smoothen this process. And in some cases, amnesty may be necessary.
Do you have information from inside the country today that there are some security
You're joking. He through a fence. I can't kill him, but he can kill me. Hmm. Nice.
Security forces who are willing to switch sides.
Absolutely. In fact, many have reached out, and we are in touch with them, and we are assessing their roles of where they can be and where they could play. We have seen in many cases, as I mentioned to you earlier, that there were many elements that the regime was hoping to count on that refused to carry out order to crack down on people. To the point that the regime had to import over 5,000 elements from outside of Iran to do the dirty job in the last few weeks. They came from Afghanistan, they came from Iraq, they came from Lebanon. They were not even Iranian citizens. And that shows, again, to what extent the regime is incapable of counting and relying on their own forces, that they have to now bring people from the outside. This is all in the direction of the regime being nearer and nearer to the collapse. And now that they will be heavily hit, and I think this campaign still goes on, I think we will see tremendous amount of devastating blow to the regime's apparatus of full control and that kind of totalitarian attitude they've had. And in fact, it will be a clear indication that this is the time for them to make a decision. Do you want to join this time with the people, or do you want to stand with the sinking ship?
It's possible that this interview will penetrate the internet blackout, and I wonder what you say to the Iranian people.
Have faith in yourselves. You are a nation with an ancient civilization. I know how proud you are of your heritage, how important Iran is to all of them. And I always said to them, I said, you know what? I know you're always hoping for a better future. What I would like you to start doing, and I've started to answer my call, is instead of hoping, start believing that it can be done. We have what it takes. We have the most amazing, gifted, intelligent, bright minds within Iran that can do it. We have the best opportunities for natural resources. Just imagine on the scale of bringing Iran on par to be the most coveted tourist destination. Forget about oil and gas. Just that industry alone could be the backbone of our economy. And Iran is ready for it. Iran is the most beautiful country. Yes, we have culture. Yes, we have poetry. Yes, we have good food. But it's such an attractive place not to be missed. And we can be a country back on track where people will almost to a point of envying us because we're so full of capability and talents. We don't know to go. We have to unleash all of that. And the best guarantee of maximum impact for ourselves is to be absolutely guaranteed the very same liberties that many Americans are taking for granted. And it's ironic that one of the components of the American Constitution is actually based on what was the principle coined by Cyrus the Great 25 centuries ago. Jefferson took note of that. So this is a nation that gave the free world the anchor principles of human rights. And guess what? If we were the first inventors of it, we should start benefiting from those same values. I think we deserve better than this clerical dictatorship. That's why you need to be on the right side of history. That's why you need to be able to help the Iranian people liberate themselves, and we will. And guess what? When D-Day occurred, and the Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy and ultimately put an end to the Nazi Third Reich fascist regime that, if it had survived, would have changed the course of history. The disappearance of this regime is exactly the same way the course of history is about to change. Iranians know that. I think many Americans need to understand that even more, and then it will be such a better world. And most importantly, Iranians will finally be able to say, guess what? We did it. Liberty is now at home. Equality is at home. Discrimination has ended. We can now practice our faith freely. We don't have to worry about our ideology or being somebody on the left or on the right. We don't have to worry about discrimination against ethnic groups or religious minorities or the LGBT community or what have you. All of that is incorporated in that. And yes, I think we are this close to it. Now that the cavalry has arrived and the essence of the regime means from liberating ourselves has been severely damaged and hopefully be totally decimated as a result of the current campaign, I think that horizon is so near. I can even smell it and taste it as of now. Not just me, millions of Iranians.
Has the Trump administration been in touch with you since the war began?
We have had some level of communications recently, and of course, as the situation is unfolding, I think it is very important, especially now that we have to anticipate what happens next and what could happen when the regime collapses during the transition. I've been talking to the administration. I'm also talking at Congress level. In fact, we have many people who have been hearing what have been suggested to them. I just spoke today with Senator Lindsey Graham, who's a big advocate of having perhaps a bipartisan council of people who will hear better exactly how we propose the transition. I think that's important for the American legislation as well as the executive to understand, but also I think the American business community and ultimately the American citizens. What's in it for them at the end of the day? How does it impact them? In what way would that be beneficial also for American, not just security interests, but also even economical interests? All of this is at play, and I think we will be able to address all of that in the transition process and how it will ultimately pan out.
And to your point, what is in it for the American people?
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single prompt with Wix Harmony. I don't know if this is going to be possible. Or vibe coding.
Well, a different Iran means that the people of Iran, unlike this regime, that from day one led them to chant death to America or death to Israel, are friends of America. Let me take you back to 2001, on 9/11, when that sinister day occurred. And oddly enough, many of the countries that are supposedly the friends or the allies of the United States had people on their streets celebrate the terrorist attack. The only country in which people stood in candlelight vigil in sympathy for the victims of 9/11 were no other than the people of Iran themselves, inside Iran. But this regime, from the very beginning, has been responsible for everything that America had to start paying a price for, going all the way back from when hostages were taken in the American embassy, or the barracks in Beirut were attacked and Marines lost their lives. From the very first time, the regime waged war against America, while the Iranian people were taken hostages by this very same regime. What it is for America is a nation that, unlike this regime, would love to be friends to America and its allies, by the way, whether it's Israel or the Arab world. Unlike this regime, we are friends with our neighbors. We want to have and bring an element of stability. Unlike this regime that forces you to deploy your military in the Persian Gulf, we will stabilize the area so the American taxpayer doesn't have to worry about funding long campaigns or committing their troops on foreign soil. We will do that part. And then what's in it for you from an economic aspect? For 50 years, America has been deprived of the Iranian market. The Iranian market alone stands to be directly impacting the American economy by creating, perhaps in the first 10 to 15 years, over $1 trillion revenue for America. And what it would mean by investors who are willing to invest billions of dollars into the Iranian economy, vice versa. Many of them are American corporations and businesses. It will be a totally different world. You win on every ground. First of all, you eliminate everything that is a matter of national security for America, whether it's the nuclear threat, terrorism, radicalism, proxies in the region, having to protect your allies. That's one thing that you can't cross off the map. That will disappear immediately the minute this regime goes. And instead, what you have? Instead, you have a country that is committed to regional stability and cooperation with its neighbors and opens the door for economic prosperity. It's good for us. It's good for America.
Chicken dinner, bitch! Woo! Always getting chickens. Let's go!
It's a win-win.
What is your message to President Trump?
My message to President Trump is that I'm here to echo and join millions of my compatriots inside and outside of Iran to thank him for having done and having the courage to do what is not easy, but intervene. And he will go down in the annals of Iranian history as the most celebrated foreign leader that changed the ball game and changed the world as a result.
In January, President Trump said this about you, quote, "He seems very nice, but I don't know how he'd play within his own country. I don't know whether or not his country would accept his leadership. And certainly if they would, that would be fine with me." You don't seem to have President Trump's wholehearted support.
Well, first of all, I don't think that somebody in my position will ever expect to have an official endorsement of a foreign government or a foreign leader. What I do know now is that millions of Iranians inside Iran and outside of Iran are calling